Hi there people, Chilli here, and on the last episode I give you my final thoughts on the Black Album and the entire Blacklist. So, without further ado, let's get into this. In August 1991, the music world would forever change at the release of Metallica's Black Album. It would become the biggest selling metal album ever, at over 16 times platinum, and would make Metallica giants in the industry and household names. I mean, this album had Metallica touring for 5 years straight almost, and playing some insanely huge gigs. If you want to see what this tour was like, you should see Live Shit, Binge and Purge, and Metallica live at Tushino Airfield, where they performed in front of more than 1.3 million rabid Russian fans, after they reopened the borders for the first time. It is an insane concert. The Black Album was also a change in style for Metallica that other older fans wouldn't enjoy, but this also won over a lot more new fans. Metallica had evolved and was going to lead the charge for the change of style in metal in the 90s. As for me, the album represents my change in style. There have been 3 albums that have forever changed my taste in music: Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, Queens of the Stone Age's Songs for the Deaf, and Metallica's Black Album, the last of which had the biggest impact in my life. It was the album that forever changed my taste in music and caused me to look out for and enjoy so many other heavy metal bands like Motorhead, Machine Head, Diamond Head, System of a Down, Slipknot, Slayer, Iced, High on Fire, Pantera, Gojira, Rammstein, Typo Negative, Sepultura, Soulfly, Cavalera Conspiracy, Corrosion of Conformity. Fuck, you get the picture. I am sure this is true for many other fans as well. Indulge my nostalgic backstory about the impact the Black Album had on me for just a couple more minutes. Around the year 2000, I was starting to develop my musical tastes. I really enjoyed the Bon Jovi track It's My Life as it did its rounds that summer, and it opened new avenues with this song. I stopped listening to bands like NSYNC and Five and replaced them with Powderfinger and Silverchair. I started to enjoy rock and roll and heavier stuff and would always be on the lookout for more. Around this time, I remember hearing Enter Sandman and was hooked. Without things like Spotify or other streaming services, hearing music was difficult, so it was the only song I heard for a long time. Eventually, after a while at a family getaway, while at some restaurant, I discovered a jukebox in the corner, and decided to check out what was on it. It was after this I knew I had to get this album. After saving up, I made the first CD purchase of my life and got this album, and played it until it was highly scratched and eventually stolen during a sports carnival, before I'd buy it again. So here we are, 30 years later, talking about the Black Album in all its glory and what it has done. As soon as it came out, I talked to all my Metallica fans about the playlist, and I wanted to discuss what they thought about it. We dismissed it. It felt weird hearing these songs being covered by pop and indie artists. Eventually, I found myself asking, if this was not being enjoyed by the Metallica fans, then who was this album made for? I got something to say. In the end, I decided to cover this playlist for a few reasons. To see if there were any redeeming songs, and if so, to tell the Metallica fans who would hear me out about these tracks. This would mean many of the episodes would have to be split up to cover all the songs fairly in these 5-minute review fashions. I knew this would be an odd review when the first released single was covered by Elton John and Miley Cyrus, let alone some of the other artists I had never heard of before. Before I continue, I would like to add that it was brought to my attention that I overlooked a band in my Enter Sandman review called The Warning with Danny, Powell and Ale, and they are a Mexican rock band who are pretty damn good upon review. So thank you for that, Martin H. But back to the review, and I wouldn't even dare cover the Black Album Remastered Edition, as it's spread over 14 discs, or 12 hours plus, of demo versions, early instrumentals, uncut versions, but the most noteworthy additions were the live concerts, which were added in full in between songs, including the famous Live in Tushino Airfield Russia concert, as mentioned before. Metallica did not make this playlist to make money. In fact, they are getting nothing from this. 50% of the sales go to their charity, all within my hands, while the other 50% go to various charities the other bands have chosen. So make some baby steps and do a good deed for the day, and listen to this playlist to give some Spotify or Apple dollars to several charities. In researching this Blacklist, I found myself listening to the artists who were doing the covers to better understand their style, curious as to how their songs sounded, and to see what songs I might know. Oftentimes I found myself lost in the artist's back catalogue. If there is one thing you take away from hearing me out, it's that I suggest you check out the artists on the covers you enjoyed, because you may be pleasantly surprised to find a new band that you can relish. This has definitely been an unexpected outcome on this review. After all, there are a lot of musicians to cover in a plethora of different styles. Through this, I have added many new songs to playlists from bands I have never heard of or would even think to listen to, like Mexican Institute of Sound to Volbeat, Tommy Owo to Rodrigo e Gabriela, to Trezor, and many, many more. This review was truly different to what I expected when I initially planned about this project. It has left me thinking this was more than just another covers album, and I think me and my Metallica fans overlooked this initially. After spending a lot more time listening to a lot of the music and a lot more covers, I emerge on the other side with an answer to the question I asked before. Who is this album made for? At the risk of sounding generic, well, it's made for everyone. Kind of like how Black Album was more accessible to begin with compared to their back catalogue, this album is as well. Even after rubbishing certain tracks amongst my friends who enjoyed Metallica, it would eventually end up in the direction of, oh, but this song is actually a pretty decent version. Yeah, that one too. Actually, yeah, that was a really good cover too. Actually, that was a really good cover. Out of 53 songs, not all will be great, or your style, but from a pure numbers game, you will enjoy a few of them at the least. So, the Metallica Blacklist is for Metallica fans willing to go outside their comfort zones and experience their favourite heavy songs in a different light. It's also for the fans of the musicians doing the covers to check out what their favourite artists were influenced by. After all, isn't Garage Inc. in similar tone? If this album is the reason someone checks out Metallica and ends up enjoying them as much as I do, then that's all that should matter. In the end, we shouldn't be discouraging people for what music they enjoy because after all, my musical odyssey began with the likes of NSYNC and Five. In the end, would I recommend this playlist? Well, not the entire playlist. There are some tracks I would show to some of my friends and other songs I would show to other friends. I won't rank this playlist, but instead I will make a playlist of my favourite songs that I will call Blacklist Chilli emoji, and I will link it below. If you are a Metallica fan who found some joy in these tracks, then I congratulate you for listening to the Blacklist. I hope you found some new artists that you enjoy as well, or at least found a decent cover version. If you are a Metallica fan who didn't enjoy the Blacklist, then I understand this too. I'm sure you will enjoy the remastered Black Album and its live concerts, which you can blast to your head-banging contempt. To conclude, Metallica have worked with a lot of artists to create their most ambitiously experimental album to date. If I had to surmise the Blacklist in one sentence, then I would take a cue from the film which Ecstasy of Gold was recorded for and call it The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. Thank you everyone for listening to the several episodes of the 5-minute reviews based around the Black Album and the Blacklist. I hope you have enjoyed these episodes and podcasts as they took a little while to edit and create.